grade methodology propose paper. 4 different methods some time ago. Bring to me the minimum knowledge that class has been a break in their and then finally class parity. So at the hybrid it identified no, this is it's the rate $1,000. We work on across the board. This dollar adjustment. Yes. Approach to 40 impacted. The projection to come now could further reduce the hybrid $8,000 in 12 months period. Just give an idea. A total of less than 1,000 will receive employees that's just us on the sheet. But more in the service. All 4 methodology. This is the start. It could be okay. But moving forward, because it will perform Or you're asked for being impacted. Proposal.
This is a start.
Yes.
Outside of and
Correct.
so is here.
Correct.
And I'm only one. Justin's use his own term for 5 years. It looks at 10 to account performance. Value. Sole voice. Parity. Employees. Their employees, and I can read this purely from a stat. Rather than just on you. Agenda item. Way and performance. Out here for this hybrid.
Raises would, we did the merit raises,
Increase would delta between instead of 17%.
getting a raise.
But again, people called up to where those folks, if we've been brought up to today's
The aspect service.
right.
No, they were looking at and that the 5-year person. That performance days late, and you cannot take and elevate that.
To John, to people that aren't performing, they get to those that are performing. I see it.
staff recommendations over the last year. Peers in the we're the idea that we don't want to take them another dollar an hour. We stay competitive because time of that long occurring is the go-getters.
It's really up in one of these 17 receiving about $6.
Go over there,
But because I'm sure it's being moved to
where they are.
without which only has one all that title. And they're along with their peer, that person. That's 17 persons that were identified. As of here's a certain
pay grade.
yes.
Is pay class
I mean,
or is it something we did? And
All three they're coming and to be on par title.
this question, so okay, that's because they do the same.
They are administrative. You are created.
Just need another position.
Same duties and responsibilities fair among the three.
Put to one individual.
Okay, okay.
And you're sure they all have the same job responsibilities?
Yeah, you see,
It's a lot more complicated.
it is more complicated, so.
that makes,
I don't, I
Well,
can't imagine
it
that.
makes absolutely no
See,
sense.
the
There's
thing
no
is,
logic to
if
that.
you've got three positions and they're all doing the same.
No, whatever.
That-
Yeah.
You start dealing with this, you're gonna add all kinds of problems, unless you really understand the impact that you're gonna do this.
Yeah.
When you start moving people around, changing pay grades, ignoring how long or, you know, how well or good an employee is, I mean, just to do some kind of blanket like this, I think you're stepping in it. and I missed all the early discussions, but when I hear a $6,000 change or a $10,000 change, that's not logical. Just not logical. But whatever.
And in defense of that, it may not be logical because it's illogical what we're doing now. So it is confusing.
Does that occur because of the change in pay grade or?
Well, it's trying to get people up to, I mean, you've got three people doing the same job and they have similar times.
Similar
And what
job.
about their years of service? Is it similar as well?
No, there are gaps in the years of service. Wide gap.
Okay, so then why would we,
Bring it up.
if we're talking years of service, and you've got a gap, why are we looking at that as total years of service to bring them up equal to others that have more service? Am I making sense?
Yes.
That's my point. It's not logical that you have people in the same similar responsibility. There has to be some other cause that you have that difference.
Well, as
Without knowing the details, but it doesn't seem to me that it's logical you could have that big a difference with three people
So is this,
by moving somebody from one grade to another.
Well, historically, our previous, there could be reasons or justification, but it's just that Evergreen, in evaluating the positions, consider these three to be on par. And one, which was in a lower pay grade, has more years of service than another, and that person was below. The one with the more years of service was below. So in carrying that person into the higher pay grade to equate, there was that adjustment.
well, I still have the issue with if they're not equal years of service. It's one thing to have the same duties and responsibilities and give an increase, but it shouldn't be the same, all three across the board if you don't have the years of service then. I don't know.
Correct.
So, okay.
Yeah.
I need to
What,
leave.
table?
Yeah, well, you all decide what you want to do, but I do want to add that on the longevity bonus, I would like to see performance added in that as well.
And that's a fair comment, you know, that if they're going to be considered at 25 years or 15 years, that they have a positive job performance based upon merit. Yes,
Meet or
ma'am.
exceeds expectations. Okay, I'm sorry, I have to go. I have a conference.
Go ahead.
Frank, sort of to your point, you know, when I believe it was approved to go to the pay grade classification, again, it's that same type of deal. You're sweeping, say, wastewater treatment plant operators in with water plant operators. They have a similar classification, let's say license, a C license, but it's a different job. You know, you're dealing with wastewater on one end, and there's different levels of treatment, different expectations, as opposed to a water treatment plant operator, different treatment procedures, different expectations. The only commonality is they all have a level C license, but you had to do different testing to get there. But Evergreen looked at it as saying, that can all be one pay grade, let's sweep them all in together. Is it right? Again, bless you. I was kind of on the idea that what we had was working and we didn't need to do this, but if we're looking at it from the standpoint of an outside person, they might understand pay grades and they're all grouped together as opposed to us, the way we've been doing it, grouped by department. And this is another one of those similar
John,
deals.
If there's a rational reason why there's a difference between the certification at wastewater and the water treatment plant, why would you put them in the same pay grade?
Again, I would not. I would leave it the way we had it. But, I mean, from a standpoint, I can understand why Evergreen put them together, but I wouldn't be in favor of it. And it's just like this hybrid thing. You won't see me saying, yes, we need to do this.
You know, just because a consultant says you ought to do something doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
Well, true. We can either accept, defer, or reject.
And I'm not arguing cleaning up, and I'm just kind of in the mid, hadn't been through all of it. I've listened to some of this in one of your workshops, but, I mean, this to me is the area you're gonna have the major problem. When you start doing this, you risk all kinds of issues with employees and who's getting what. Like, he got 6 and I got 2.
Just me, right now, we got a lot going on with the merit increases and the dollar an hour. I would like to see things settle out a little bit before we start making more pay decisions.
If we've got a person that Evergreen says deserves a $10,000 raise, then maybe staff needs to look at that and take a position on whether or not that person needs a raise, you know.
And in the past, we have done that. That's a provision in the employee manual and the policies and procedures that you can look on a case-by-case basis per individual and adjust accordingly. We do that. We have done that in the past.
So if we do these merit increases and the dollar an hour, which we're doing, where are we gonna be in a year from now? Where do you see the OUA as far as salaries and in the market?
What I would say is I think we are very good compared to our peers because of what we've done this year. We added the dollar, we're doing the 2.5% merit. Now, what this hybrid study could talk about, if we go back and look at those 10 individuals they talked about or the 17, it would be on a case-by-case basis and we compare those to others and adjust accordingly. But to go in and just do it the way they're talking about, no. So the answer to your question is, I think from a standpoint of what we're talking about here today, and that would be all these items, whether it's this Evergreen report, the PTO thing that we've already addressed, holiday pay, longevity bonus, the health insurance stipend, I'm telling you, I believe we're going to be in a very, very good position for our employees. Very good. We don't, this hybrid, no.
Well, obviously part of this is because you're moving people from one pay grade to another, which has immediate impact on a number of people just because you move from one pay grade to the other.
A recurring impact.
No, I'm just saying, but that initial change, if you change somebody's pay grade, there's a high potential that just to get them into the minimum causes an impact. So plus all this other stuff. Anyhow, we beat this dead horse long enough.
Well, now, keep in mind, Mr. Irby, recommendation 2, which was already addressed and passed, was creating the pay grades.
I know that. That's why I asked the question.
So so that's already a done deal unless you want to rescind that motion.
No, my point is that by doing that, you started moving people into different pay grades, which forces potentially, I don't know, we don't see the detail, but potentially some of you people that got moved into that pay grade got an increase just because they're below the minimum for that new pay grade.
That's what I was trying to.
I mean, potentially, I don't know that, but I mean,
Right.
that's the first thing that would impact me moving from 1 to 3. My minimum, or my current salary may be below the minimum. So you have to give me an increase just to get me into the minimum.
Oh, everybody is above the minimum. That we already know.
In every pay grade, when you move.
We'll go back and look at the pay grade. Under the old classification, everybody was above the minimum.
No. But moving from your current pay grade to the new pay grade.
We will address that. Yes, sir.
It had to impact some people.
Yes, sir. It'll be addressed.
It had to.
Yes, sir.
Just by moving them to a new pay grade.
That will be addressed, yes.
Tom? Do you have a question?
Well, Frank is addressing the same thing I was sitting here concerned about. If you're putting them in a new pay grade, did the salary follow that? I mean,
Yeah.
if it didn't, then I don't know that you want to take any action on this.
But it's going to increase there.
We will adjust it and we will look at that, yes, sir, because the pay grade was approved.
Right now, do you also believe board members that we need to incorporate a performance module.
Well, I think John's suggestion is let's let all the stuff that you've changed already, let's kind of let that get through the system and figure out what the overall impact is
Right.
on where people are. And
You just table this recommendation, basically.
Or take no action, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So my suggestion would be that take no action at this time
Do no action.
until we have further discussion, more information.
For the hybrid.
The hybrid.
Is that the board's direction?
Do I have we need a motion, Tom?
You can put a motion if you want.
If not, then let's table it for right now.
by approving the new pay grade, some people are gonna get, you're gonna have one person get a pay raise. Is what it looks like.
By doing the pay grades, we will look at each individual when they get in this pay grade, and if they're above the minimum, yes, they're gonna get a pay raise.
Well, I mean, according to this, it says there's one person, unless I'm reading this chart wrong.
Okay.
Is that, first line, bring to a minimum $4,600, one employee.
Yeah, if they were supposed to be bring to the minimum.
Yeah, to bring to the minimum.
So that would be, it looks like just one, by moving everybody into whatever the new categories are, there's only one person
Yeah,
that
correct.
now currently below the minimum of their new pay category. Is that right?
That's how I'm reading it as well. Yes, it's to bring to minimum. There's
I mean,
one
do we
person.
know that? Have we looked at every employee who's getting impacted by this?
I have a listing of the employees, but to see what is the present versus the proposed to bring to minimum, I didn't look at that. I didn't look
I mean,
at that.
I think that's important to understand the actual impact on every person, not this global thing, but if we start doing this, I'm gonna get put in this what impact does it have on me or that person?
Good.
And you have to be able to understand it. But, what the hell? So we're tailoring. But that happens regardless because we approved the new pay grades.
Good.
That is
People
correct.
get moved regardless now from where they are to the new pay grade
Because of the prior action.
because of the prior.
Prior action, yes,
Prior
sir.
action.
It's gonna happen. Which is different than what we're talking about here on this hybrid.
It would be different.
No, well, see, and again, I don't quite understand this. When it says class parity, there are 12 people. Does that mean that by moving people to new categories, that those 12 people get a change in?
Based on the years of service or how long they've been in their present class, only as the variable,
No,
that will
but it-
impact 12 persons.
No, but if these 12 people that it's going to impact,
Mm-hmm.
is that because they're getting moved to a new pay grade?
No.
I don't read it that way.
No, it is not. The 12 that you're talking about, which is in this class parity, is only looking at those individuals that are within a specific classification that's grouped in these pay grades based upon years in that classification. They're going to be impacted, those 12. That gets to where you're seeing, I believe, the way this is, that when you look at the minimum and maximum for that pay grade or that classification, where they are in years of service compared to others in their years of service, 12 of them are going to get moved. Based upon, by the class parity, the years in that classification.
My question is, does that happen because of the prior action of moving pay?
No, sir,
It does not.
it does not. It's only based, as I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's only based upon the years in that job classification. Let's say it is, I used wastewater treatment plant C, or water plant C, the C operators. It's years of service as a C operator when you're compared to the other C operators.
It's not like steps to me.
Sort of like a step plan.
If I look at the definition of class parity that Evergreen provided, it says realign employees along their salary range on the basis of how long they have been serving in their current classification. This is done on a total of 30 years basis, meaning employees with 30 years or more experience in their current classification would be placed at the maximum, whereas employees with 15 would be placed at the midpoint of each. So it's just looking at the years of service in their present class, and that is the basis of moving them up or down in that class itself. So it is not taking them from a different pay grade, just looking at the class that they're in.
It's confusing.
So this is, again, we've approved the new pay grades,
Yes,
which means everybody's gonna get moved.
they will be grouped together, yes,
They're
sir.
they're gonna get moved to something other than where they are because we've changed all the names and whatever.
Well,
If you do nothing else, how does that impact those people when you move them? If you don't approve this, or portions of this, and I move, and I'm just one guy that's below the minimum, do I get a raise?
And I think that's all that happens, is that one person that's below the minimum is
Yeah, but
gonna get a
that's
raise.
kind of included in this recommendation.
Yeah, but I think
And
by approving the new positions, we've basically agreed to bring that one person up to minimum, but we haven't agreed to any of these other, class parity, hybrid, or tenure to adjust.
that would be my interpretation, my understanding. By approving the pay grade, it means a minimum of one person who is outside of their proposed pay grade would be adjusted to the minimum.
but
Let me be a little clearer. If you look at the Evergreen report, which is behind this page, you go to page 6.4, 6-4.
yeah, that's what I
It
am.
has all of the new pay grade classifications. What's not in the report is the OUA job descriptions and classifications, the 43 or whatever. Each of those have minimums and maximums assigned to them. If if 3 different OUA categories get moved into, say, 110, whatever 110 is, you now have a minimum and maximum, and if the OUA classification was less than 51,808, they're gonna get a pay raise to get inside that minimum. That's how you're gonna adjust them.
But if you don't approve this recommendation, do they get it?
You already approved it under recommendation number 2 to establish the pay grades.
Okay.
So we have to move all of our OUA designations, let's say, again, I'm picking on
Because
like,
I'm tying this to that last decision, but here they're saying this is what the impact is gonna be. Do you,
all right, the one that we're talking about though is, item 3, where the hybrid and the class and the tenure all falls into it. And they're taking it one step further and looking at each individual based upon years of service to the OUA. Forget classification. Years of service to the OUA, years of service in a classification or the hybrid, which is a combination of those two, to further adjust an individual's rate of pay. Not pay grade, it's an individual basis. So that when you look at the first one, there was 10 that were impacted, bringing the minimum, 32 for class parity, 36 for the hybrid, and 46 for tenure. That was the first pass at this. It has nothing to do with pay grades. It's about individuals.
and then you gave you dollar raise.
That's right.
And that's the next.
So the pay grade, which we talked about in 2, has already happened. You guys approved that we're gonna take the 40-something OUA
That's the
class.
second.
And that's done.
Yeah, that's the new,
That's done.
Yeah.
And if there's going to be a rate change because an OUA classification is below the minimum of one of the new, they're going to get a pay raise. This has moved on to recommendation 3, where it was brought to their attention where they were going to just look at each OUA employee with years of service to the OUA and years of service in their job classification. And how do they get adjusted to their peers? Based upon only years of service, not anything else. Does that make it any clearer?
If I just add one thing, I think I understand it, maybe to clarify it, recommendation number 3, this chart was before the $1 an hour increase. So that's.
well, I know that, I'm looking at the second chart.
That's already been taken care
Yeah,
of.
I know that.
The second chart is after the $1 an hour
Yeah.
increase, so the action y'all took before
Yeah.
only affects one person to bring it to a minimum.
Yeah.
Now, if you choose the class parity, the hybrid parity, or the tenure parity, that's the people that will affect.
Yeah, but if you don't take action on this here, that one person doesn't get a raise.
The one person will, because that's to bring to a minimum, because it's after the $1 an hour increase, correct?
Yeah, but that's included in this recommendation. If you don't approve the recommendation,
But that other
Yeah.
follows.
That is my understanding.
Well, if we've already moved them into that
Having-
pay grade, though, you have to bring them to minimum.
I know that.
At minimum, you should really bring the staff to minimum, which impact
I'm not
one.
disagreeing with that. I'm just
At
saying
minimum,
that's
there's one
included in
person
this
who
chart.
need to be addressed.
Yeah.
At
And then-
minimum, one
And then the
person.
next chart is for after the $1 an hour plus pending the merit increase. If you don't do no action, nobody gets affected in the third chart. That's the way I see it. I didn't know if that would help out.
Well, I have 2 charts, so.
3 charts total. Right.
3 tables.
Yeah, 3 tables.
The last one is, not only are you looking at the $1 an hour, you're also adding in the merit increase of 2, on average, 2%.
Oh, yeah.
Total of 2.5.
I'm looking at that as one chart.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps. That's the way I see it.
Well, what do we want to do?
So even with no action, this one is affected by the prior action.
Should be. That's how I read it.
It would have to be, I would think. I mean, if it's minimum, you have to
Yep.
pay them the minimum, don't you?
Well, yep. Again, I don't know how that minimum
Yeah.
comes up. I think it's when they start looking at years of service, there's a minimum of 1 that would, when you try to take into account years of service. We're not doing that. We don't do it, may not be there.
Yeah, okay.
Well, again, I would recommend that we go with what John's recommendation was. Let's see how all this, things you've already done, if, you know, this one person gonna have to be moved to the minimum, period.
Let's see what next year's budget looks like.
We're gonna table that and
Or just take no action?
take no
In
action.
action. But
Just a question, John, if one of these employees is way under, you guys think should have some sort of an adjustment made, would you bring that to us to be approved, or would it be?
No, sir, I would just do it.
Okay.
It's allowed. That's
Okay.
what my job is.
That's what you should do.
And that's what you're doing now?
Yes,
looking
sir.
at the-
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Handled. Done.
okay, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so very quickly, there is, I think, 3 more recommendation, 4 more. Recommendation number 4, the authority is to conduct small-scale salary survey as needed to assess the market competitiveness. Staff agree, that's a basic, recommendation, that
Motion to
periodically
approve.
we should look in the market, right, and do some.
Motion to approve.
Well, we do it anyway, so.
Do we need a motion, you said,
Yes.
Mr. Attorney?
If you need to.
Second.
I have
Go to number 5.
motion by Mr. Irby, motion by Harry. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, number 5, the authorities to conduct a comprehensive classification and compensation study every 3 to 5 years.
What's that?
Repeat that?
To approve.
Okay,
Mr. Irby, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Harry. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
all right. Number 6, the authorities to revise its policy and procedure for moving employees through the proposed pay plan, including procurement procedures to determine salaries of new hires. Staff opinion, we will examine the current handbook, which was last revised June 2022, and make adjustment accordingly.
Number 7.
Final recommendation, Evergreen recommend the authority update its policy regarding promotion, demotion, and transfer to align with the new compensation structure. Staff agrees and will update the authority's handbook to be in line with these new compensation structures.
And let the record reflect, we do that anyway, so I don't even know why they make these recommendations, but
Okay. Motion to accept?
except what?
Really no action needed
No
on
action
that.
needed?
I don't see it.
No? No?
Okay.
Whatever the board's pleasure.
Okay, so,
Well, we already do it, Mr. Chairman, so.
Yes.
It looks good if auditor's looking at it, so I would say, we want to approve it, formally approve that one. Motion second, take action on that one.
Take action on?
On number 7 or on the whole agenda item?
The last one.
Okay?
So then I need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Mr. Irby, second.
Second.
Have a second. All, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
okay.
All right. Moving on to item agenda number 23, proposed update to employees handbook.
Okay, again, Mr. Chairman, at the last board meeting, we presented some proposal. The proposal presented, we list 5 items. 2 were accepted, and 1 was the salary adjustment of $1 to each employee was implemented. The merit is now presently being worked on. The evaluation sheet, we are revising and then moving to the evaluation of each staff. And then the last 3, we said we will make adjustment to the employee handbook, a recommended adjustment to the employee handbook, and we will carry those to the board for the board review. We have made those proposals, the adjustment, in the attached handbook adjustment. Just to identify them, we have the PTO, which outline the 5 categories, 1 to 10 years. We will convert vacation and sick time to PTO, and then we have 5 different categories: the 1 to 10 years, 10 to 15, and the over 15 years in terms of the total amount of PTO being allowed for the year. The next thing in the adjustment was that employees will be restricted to carry forward a maximum of 360 hours unused PTO to the following fiscal year, and earned PTO will be allotted on a monthly basis instead of once annually.
And just to be sure, what we have is behind all of this are the changes that we would do to the employee manual to implement these procedures.
Again, the second one was the paid holiday. We discussed that. We have also made the adjustment. the personal choice was increased from 1 to 2 days, and in the attachment at the back of this, we have made the adjustment in the employee handbook, proposed employee handbook. And then finally, the longevity bonus. At the last meeting, question was asked as to the cost impact of the longevity bonus that we had proposed, moving from a set dollar amount to a percentage of the salary payout. So we did a chart showing over a 5-year period, the current situation, what it proposed to cost the OUA for the next 5 years, utilizing the fixed dollar amount versus what it would cost the OUA moving to a percentage payout. For example, FY25, it will cost us as a fixed dollar amount, $1,950. Using a percentage, it will move to $15,072. After review and discussion, the staff recommends that the board so guide us.
So 2 things to remember. The board member that left would like the longevity bonus to be tied to a positive annual employee evaluation. That would be one step that would be added. The second step, which needs to be further clarified, this longevity bonus based upon percentage is a copy of what a peer group to us, local peer group to us, currently does. That would be the city of Okeechobee. Was a copy of their longevity bonus. So if you want to consider the longevity bonus, take that into account, that it is a peer group for us locally for hiring purposes or retention. But she also recommended or requested that the longevity bonus, if it is to be paid out, it would be tied to a positive performance review. So.
I don't know if I am. I don't know if I should speak, but I have a question to ask. So, in a situation where an employee is with the authority for whatever milestone, let's say 15 years, the evaluation is that that person needs attention in this quality of work. From that recommendation, is it that we would not pay that person for the 15 years that the person is continue to be employed in the company? Do we see a problem, or do we think that longevity should just be based upon years of service and not be tied to performance? Performance has to do with, we have other alternatives to deal with the employee performance, really.
I would have to assume if they've been here 15 years that they've probably been pretty good employees.
Two separate entities, in my opinion, is that if you have an employee that has a problem with performance, it's going to be addressed immediately. If you have that employee that's been, like Mr. Irby said, for 15 years, there's a reason why he's there for 15 years. I would hate to see somebody who has not been an asset be with us when we keep them on.
But if you tie the performance to the longevity, the person could be below par or below average performance. Is it that you won't pay that person?
No, I would.
If it's longevity,
I would keep it. My recommendation would be longevity is one separate entity in itself.
So don't tie it to.
Don't tie it at all. And performance would be another. I mean, you could have somebody who's here for 5 years, somebody for 15, all right? And that 5-year person, his performance is just fantastic, off the charts. As our director said, you don't have to tell him, shows up on time, does what he has to do, stays if there's a problem, whatever the case may be, all right? That person, respective performance, needs to be compensated based upon that. And again, keep both separate, is what I'm recommending to the board.
So to that end, we did not include the performance. That was something that was brought up today. What staff is asking, that if the board is, after review, discussion, is so inclined, then we have attached what we would recommend as changes to the employee manual, whether the board could give us direction to move forward with those changes and authorize staff and the chairman to address an addenda item to the employee manual for converting to PTO, the additional paid holiday, and changing the current longevity bonus plan from a fixed dollar amount to the percentage of the salary, which is included in the board package.
Do I have a motion?
I will make that motion.
I have a motion from Mr. Irby. Do I have a second?
Can we review what that motion was again?
This is just the.
All right, for a second, can we get a second, and then we'll do it for discussion purposes.
To approve, or open, but discussion, but to approve the longevity bonus at percentages as presented.
Without tying it to
Without
performance.
just
Just years of
Just the
service.
longevity bonus percentages as presented.
No, and it is the addition of the paid holiday, the second personal choice,
PTO.
and converting to PTO from annual to sick. Those are the three items that would be changed in the employee manual.
What did you say?
The first one was going to PTO,
Yeah,
getting rid of annual and sick time,
I
and
thought y'all did that at the last meeting.
it was discussed, but we said we'd bring it back for this one. So the three items is PTO, convert our annual sick leave calculation and sick time calculation, combine that all into paid time off, and it would be based upon those five, the 1 to 5 year, 5 to 10 year, 15 year and above. They can't roll over, it's either, they cannot roll over more than 360 hours. They get paid for anything over and above that. And then the idea, the fifth one, which is, you'll calculate the PTO rather than on an annual basis as we presented before. You calculate it on a monthly basis, how much PTO they earned for that given time
Yeah,
period.
1/12.
It gets away from the idea that if we give everybody, but it was presented last month, we would give everybody as of 1 October, and then what happens when they leave in December and they've used all their time. So now it's just on a pay period, what you earn during that pay period is what you get added to your PTO bank.
Yep.
So you work 80 hours, you get whatever you accrued based upon your years of service for PTO during that time period. And then there is no trying to claw back or, take away. So if the board is so inclined to review and discuss that, the option, what we're asking for today is authorization for staff and the chairman to be able to execute an amendment to the personnel plan to make this happen.
I have it. Irby, do I have a second?
Who's the second? John? Okay.
Any further discussion, sir?
It has nothing to do with all of that, but I had a question on page 32 of your handbook. It says PTO can be requested in a minimum increments of a quarter of an hour.
Yes.
Why would you do that?
The
I know
minimum,
that's carryover from annual leave, and you just struck out annual leave, put PTO in there, but why would you do quarter hour?
the minimum, yes. Well, do you want 5 minutes? Do you want them to use 5 minutes?
No, but why?
Why though?
Well, the reason why was if somebody were to come in late or whatever, they're not saying, oh, I'm using PTO for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever the core, whatever the time period that they missed.
Well, yeah, but that's what you sound to me like you're allowing me to do. I can come in 15 minutes late and take PTO for my 15 minutes late. Isn't that what it said?
That the minimum that you could take off is up to 15-minute increments. So you can't take, I don't want to take off 1 hour and 10 minutes to go to the doctor's office or whatever. We can do away with it. We can take it out
I mean,
actual
it's
time.
just odd to me that you would try to allocate time off in quarters of an hour.
You're saying the minimum should be an hour.
Or something, yeah, I mean,
Well, what, do you want a minimum at all? You don't have to have a minimum at all.
I would take it out, but that's me. I don't understand a quarter-hour minimum. I mean,
Well,
that's
the-
almost like, well, I had 39 and,
39
hours-
minutes.
39 and 3/4 hours pay period, I want a quarter hour so I can get 40. I mean, is that rational or reasonable, or does payroll want to deal with that?
Well, we presently deals with it. There are situations where persons leave before the time, could be for whatever reason, could be an emergency. Since there is no longer a sick or vacation, should that person required to leave early, then the person will utilize PTO. Now, it's up to the board's discretion. Do we set that a minimum of an hour? Do we eliminate the minimum? But presently we utilize a minimum of quarter of an hour.
That's what we've been doing, is a quarter of an hour?
Right now, that's what we do. So we did not adjust that in the handbook.
I would think our PTO is more than generous compared to most companies. I would say an hour to make it clean. If somebody needs to take off, they just have to take an hour. That's my thoughts.
Catch-22, I mean,
You're indifferent. Yeah, it's whatever they want.
there should be a
I just
minimum.
want PTO.
Minimum, definitely.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it, it's just to me, it seems like an accounting nightmare to try to keep up with quarter hours. But that's your business.
If that's what they've historically been doing, then I don't see any
Okay.
reason that we need to change it. I don't know.
You could have a situation where somebody needs to pay a bill of some sort, all it needs is 15 minutes to go out and use that time, and, I mean, you haven't had any problems in the past, correct? With the 15-minute?
Just odd.
Payroll, we haven't had a problem payroll, dealing with a hour and 25 minutes, no, we've been fine. We're able to account for it.
I think it works both ways. You're saying make them take an hour. What if you need that employee back?
Right.
We need 15 minutes. I think the quarter hour works great.
That's
And I
fine.
don't think it's that much on payroll.
Well, here's what I'm gonna say.
Mine was a question, not a suggestion that you change it, it's just.
My recommendation would be to leave it as is if the board.
Policies and procedures are set by the board, so whatever your extreme wisdom is, we'll follow. How does that sound? I will make one other recommendation since we're stirring the pot, and I don't mean to have a long, lengthy discussion, but on page 34, there is still a reference to sick leave and whether we need, that was brought up by a board member in a discussion I had with him. So the question is, do we even, if we're switching to paid time off, do we even need any reference to sick leave? Because what we ran into before was when somebody tried to use their sick time and they were out 3 days or more, we required some kind of medical note. Well, if we're giving people paid time off now that they need to manage, do we even need to know if it's sick time? I will only tell you this, the only thing that we do need that doesn't really fall into sick time is, and it will be addressed in other areas, if you don't show up to work and you're not showing up to work, let's say for the case you're sick, you still need to call in and tell your supervisor that you won't be in. Has nothing to do with sick time or PTO, but I'm just saying, in hindsight, before we approve this, I would only suggest that we may want to look at this. Do we even need that section on sick time? So, I'm sorry to stir the pot, but I wanted to at least bring that up to, when setting policy and procedure, whether we need that.
Well, isn't PTO, aren't they required or requested to get prior approval before taking leave?
Yes, sir. If they know that, what happens when they call in and they get sick and, they wake up with a, whatever?
Yeah.
My position there is you can still use PTO, but you're going to have to call your your supervisor before missing work. You can't just miss work, nobody knows where you're at,
Right.
and then you show up the next day and say, oh, I was out sick.
Right.
You have to call prior to missing work, or it's unexcused. You can have somebody call for you too, I mean, a roommate or spouse or whatever. But somebody should call and notify the supervisor that you will not be in that day. We can leave it as the way it's presented, or we can adjust it.
I mean, I would suggest you take it out because your PTO has, it's not anything other than paid time off. You can use it anyhow you want. So you don't need a reference to taking sick leave PTO. Because now you're kind of redefining PTO into different categories. I would take it out because you don't need it anymore. Now, if you want to require some kind of, if it's some kind of extended leave and you require some kind of release to come back to work, you know, because you've been out, and you might do that. If somebody's been out sick for 3 or 4 days, you might want some kind of clearance before they come back to work. But,
And that certainly is applicable if they're injured,
yeah.
right?
Right.
They strain their knee
Whatever.
or back or whatever.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion of that, sir?
Hmm?
Would you like to make a motion?
Well, I'd make a motion that we take that part out of the employee manual, the request for PTO when sick leave.
So approving the 3 items with the idea that we would take out the sick leave
reference to-
sick leave reference.
Yeah.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, John. Further discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Motion carries.
All right, one more area to address, Mr. Chairman, the issue of health. At the workshop, staff presented, looked at the Evergreen report, which seek to identify a gap between OUA at the employee and family coverage versus our peers. The staff proposed that we could revisit the health allowance that is being allotted to each employee. Now, from that, we saw that at the family coverage level, where our peers are at 72% of the costs, OUA was at 48% of those costs. Now, there are multiple proposals that we could have proposed in terms of to recommend. Of course, we just did 5 possible recommendations. We could think of probably 10 more. But these are just the 5 that we said we will propose to the board that the board could consider. Having looked through these, and as the board will discuss, we looked at option number 3, the second example, which builds in a tier system where you have employee only, employee and spouse, or employee and children receiving a second tier, similar to what is being done by our peers, mainly by the Evergreen. And then, of course, the third tier, employees plus family, at the 1,600. We are proposing this second one, but it's at the board's discretion as to how you would like to make that decision. Any thoughts?
So you're talking about item number 3, or?
The second group under item number 3.
Yeah. Presently, the authority allows 1,100 to each employee, and they're allowed to spend it however they desire in the cafeteria of products. We are proposing that remain for employee only options, but where there is the employee and spouse or employee and children which carries a higher premium, that we lift to $13.50, and then where the employee and family, which I think goes up to like $2,000 premium. Just for the health only, we are proposing like a $1,600. So these are what we are proposing. Now, this is just based on the current costs. We know that the broker PRM has said to us that they are projecting a 15 to 20% increase. They have told us that in a meeting because of the jump that they're seeing coming, but they have not confirmed the actual amount as yet. So of course the premium will move, our health premium will move upwards, but we haven't gotten those figures as yet, those confirmed figures as yet from PRM. So it's at the board's discretion whether or not we first look at the present adjustment of the structure, and then if needs be, an inflation adjustment could either be done later or no, whichever one.
When
So-
will you have that number, the increase?
The early, they've already had a special meeting with just us, where they were showing us based upon our experience factor of the last year, where our rates were gonna go up because we've had some losses, if you will, experience, if you wanna call it that, in health.
Yeah.
The June is the meeting where they have the annual meeting, and we should get those written numbers in June, and then the final numbers are due out before our open enrollment in August. What I'm going to tell you is, and I think I've shared this with you, what the Water Management District offers their employees, and I can tell you for the Assistant Executive Director position, I've had at least one employee turn me down because the $1,100 a month offered by the OUA does not come close to what the district offers for family coverage, which is over $1,900 a month. So I'm telling you, real life, we already experience it. The Evergreen report, again, when you read back through it, when you do the peer comparison, we were at like, I think 48% at the family coverage compared to our peers, even though we were offering $1,100 a month. So real life, Evergreen, by their peer coverage, me with one interview with an employee that I wanted, who was going to be a very good candidate for the OUA, said we don't match up to the Water Management District, so I went and got their flyer from their employee deal, and yes, we're not even close. So the issue is our rates are going to go up next year, guaranteed. Don't know how much. They said 10 to 17% is what they would expect. And we're asking for those two categories, spouse and children together, to go up from $1,100 to $350, and the employee family to go from $1,100 to $1,600. It's all about retention or new hires, what we're chasing.
Yeah.
And we can't deny it. It's going up. It's expensive. We've had our board chairman before said, well, I worked for the car wash and they gave me and my wife full coverage, whatever that is. So we know it's out there that healthcare expenses are going through the roof, and if we want to stay competitive, we have no choice but to go up.
Between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
Because we're competing against two major entities, the East Coast and the Seminole Tribe. And I'm sure Mr. Irby knows, because of the hospital that he ran, in order to attract good quality personnel, you're going to have to pay, and you're going to have to give more benefits. We're in the middle, unfortunately, and you have to say to yourself, Why would you want to move to Okeechobee? What amenities are here? What do we have with respect for the kids? What do we have here for pay? What do we have here for any type of, not bonuses, but health care and things of that nature? And when you're competing against other entities, unfortunately, you're gonna have to pay more than what the average is. It's just the reality of what's going on. I mean, what you pay for is what you get. If you're gonna pay, you know, you're not gonna attract quality help.
So what are you suggesting here? I mean, I see under number 2, 1,100 to 1,350, and then there's example percentage of 880 to 1,600 and 1,100 to 1,600. So what are you suggesting?
The second grouping under paragraph 3, it says, or example, employee only 1,100, employee plus spouse at 1,350, employee plus children at 1,350, employee plus family at 1,600. Set that 3-tier rate, if you will, for our employees, that they can use that money out of the cafeteria plan where they can choose. There are 5 insurance plans. Each insurance plan has the same 4 classification system, so you get to choose from 20. PPOs, HSAs, you know, the high deductible, are all in that. The other options when they get to the cafeteria plan would be dental insurance, vision insurance, short-term disability, and life insurance. They spend this money that the OUA gives them on that insurance. If they don't spend it, they don't get it. So if they only end up spending $1,000 and we're giving them $1,100, then they just don't collect that $1,100. We did the look-see, I think, at the previous one. Most of our employees utilize their money that is given to them by the OUA. All the rest of them have out-of-pocket. I'm one of them. I have lots of out-of-pocket expenses because I have employee children coverage right now. Plus, you know, some dental and vision and whatever else. So most of our employees are spending out-of-pocket to get their health care.
Okay, so I'm married,
Yes? You were as of this morning?
and so I get $1,600 to spend.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I get $1,600 to spend on health.
If, you can be married, but you can also select employee only. If your spouse...
No, I'm just saying that would be
Just because you're married, you don't get the money.
I get to decide that I want to be married and buy insurance in some way.
If you're married, you have the choice. Your spouse could have great coverage somewhere else. You're getting employee only.
But I'm trying to clarify this. So a married person with their spouse, they get $1,600 to spend on some kind of health insurance or vision insurance or dental insurance?
It's
They-
with family, not just
No,
spouse.
it will be 1,350 if, yeah.
Well, with family.
Yeah, if you...
Or with family, with children.
With children and a spouse, it's $1,600. If you're just married, it's $1,350 that you have to spend at least in the coverage for health insurance. You'd have to choose employee and spouse. You can't go under, you can't draw $1,350 and then choose employee only for health insurance.
Yeah. Then, but currently, is it just $1,100 per, regardless of what category you're in?
That is correct.
Exactly.
Okay, so why would the monthly cost go up $700,000 by adding $400 or $500 per employee?
That's not monthly, it's annual.
I know that, but it's, oh, monthly, okay. I saw one of them's monthly, one of them's annual.
Yes.
So it doesn't go up much at all with the proposed changes.
And this is just a proposal because we are not sure what the selection will be at.
No, I'm fine. I misread it.
It's based upon our current distribution. If we change this, an employee may choose employee spouse. It's gonna change the distribution.
Okay. I move that you take example 1,100 to 1,600.
So the staff recommendation, 11, 1350, and 1600.
1,100, 1,350, 1,600.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
So, I need to get some clarification here. And we should have done this also on the last agenda item. This change could take effect right now, next pay period, if that's what we're acting for here. Is that, I want to get that clarification that whenever we can implement this, we've already paid for this month. So let me make sure I understand this correctly. This is the month of May. We've already taken out of everybody's paycheck for June. We can implement this plan starting in June that'll take care of insurance moving forward from July. Do you follow what I'm saying? We have to pay in advance. So we've already paid
Paid for June already.
June. If we start this, we could start the pay plan whenever you want. Is that what y'all are saying, that under our next pay period, we implement this?
And it's only gonna affect their out-of-pocket money.
That is correct. So we could implement this starting with the next pay period. Is that's
July.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Because my finance person is going to start asking me, when does this start? So we'll just start it with the next pay period. Got that? You good with that?
I think he's agreeing to disagree.
Well, if you don't want
We're
to.
flexible. We're flexible. Whatever the board desires.
Well, it's not gonna have much impact on this late in the year on your budget, so.
We got 5 minutes, yeah, so it's.
Yeah, dollar value is immaterial.
It just causes headaches in the payroll department and finance.
Just a little.
Yeah, but they also get the benefits, so we're good.
Yeah, they get the big bucks anyhow, so.
So, I'm sorry to deal with old news. And maybe we'll just work through this and I'll bring it back. The question I was gonna ask on the PTO, the holiday, it doesn't really matter. Longevity, we approved it for the the chairman and staff to implement. Do we implement that as soon as we get the amendment signed? So we work towards converting PTO or the longevity bonus when we get the amendment signed for those? And please step in, Mr. Finance Director, because I'm spending your money.
Should. I thought you said it would start on the next fiscal year.
So on the PTO, what did you put down? We didn't specifically address it.
Well, in here, the PTO, the proposal is to start
1 October?
1 October, the start of the financial year. So whatever payout is needed, we make those in September in this financial year. So, and then we start clean.
Same for the longevity bonus and holiday?
Yes,
Okay, I'm just making sure publicly we start 1 October on all that.
October 1st.
yes.
Okay, sorry, I was asleep. I just wanted to make sure we all agreed with that.
Moving on to item agenda number 25, 2024 FDP.
So we have, the grant portal is open, and we have until June to get this submitted. I just wanted to go through with the board direction, unless you're going to tell me, John, move forward and do whatever you want to, which is not likely. I just wanted to identify some of the projects that we could go after at board direction. Under the water quality implementation grants, I would like for the board to consider the Southwest Fifth Avenue septic to sewer project. It is going to be, everything concerned, about $6.3 million total cost, estimated as of this date. We have one grant already assigned to that of $2.5 million, leaving an unmet need of $3.8 million. I would like to ask the DEP in the grant portal for any dollar amount you want me to cover the cost, or some of the cost or all of the cost for the Southwest Fifth Avenue. My suggestion is we go in and ask for $4 million. We know construction costs are going up. It's estimated to be a $6 million project, 6.3, and we have 2.5. If the board's pleasure to do that. The other grants,
Before you move on,
yes, sir.
on that, what, it says 153 lots? Are all those lots?
It's a mixture of vacant and
I mean,
built.
what is the potential new customer base for that? If you expand that area? You gonna bring on 100 new customers?
No, I think it's,
I don't know the exact number, but it's more than that. Most of those lots are built out.
Yeah, I'm just,
so it might be,
and I'm fine with that, I'm just curious about what it is.
Get the economic impact.
I can get back to you, but it's probably, if I had to guess, 125 or so occupied.
And we do have agreement between city and county about mandatory connections?
There are mandatory connection requirements, both city and county.
And this is a project the city asked y'all to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Well, and what I like about it is, we have commercial areas that doesn't have central sewer, unheard of.
Yeah.
And this element takes it all the way over to 441 so that we can provide sewer service to commercial lots. We just have to do this.
I'm fine with it, I'm just,
And if you're okay with it, we'll just put this in as one of our projects.
I mean, to me, this type of stuff is one of the most important things I think Florida can be doing to get everybody off septic tanks.
Well, and the area is, some of the area is predominantly low, poorly drained, and we have septic tanks that back up. So it's certainly, from a standpoint of not just looking at new customers, yes, we get that, but it's also a public health issue. The other grants is under the alternative water supply grants. There's a couple here that we can go over. Some of them are new, some of them have been repeat. Advanced metering infrastructure, AMI. We have it, we want it. From a staff perspective, there are benefits to not only the OUA, but there are intangible benefits to each customer. It's a big project. We've looked at it before. We've had a deficiency in how to fund it. It's about a $2.7 million project. We can ask for any amount. In this instance, I was asking for $2 million, leaving the net unfunded amount at a little over $7 million. Could be 700,000. It could be 800, could be 600, who knows? There are other areas that we've approached. We have asked for the federal appropriations request through Congressman Franklin's office to supply some funding. We have no idea what that's going to be, if that's even going to be approved at the federal level. I can ask for whatever we want here. I asked for $2 million. If y'all want 3, if you want 1.5, 2 point, what's the pleasure of the board?
So I'm assuming these are different buckets of money?
I don't know that it's a different bucket. I think it's all one big bucket, but it's under different categories. I do not know how DEP has allocated the monies. I don't know.
I mean, to me, if we had a choice, if you had to limit your choices, the septic to sewer would be my high priority.
Well, I'm going to ask you, this is really a two-part question. It's to go through the projects, but then if you want to give me a ranking at the end as to, because I'm always going to be asked that by Representative Tuck or Senator Grawl's office, what's your priority? And I would agree with you right now, Southwest Fifth Avenue, because we have some funding, we're moving forward with a construction project, that needs to be our #1 priority.
Definitely.
That's my opinion. These other ones are all important. Next to the AMI is a water supply plan. We're going to have to do this year water master plan effort and a wastewater master plan effort. The water master plan effort is also going to be coupled with our consumptive use allocation that we're asking for a better supply, a bigger supply, and a part of that element would be the district coming back and say, okay, what are you doing for conservation purposes? Well, AMI is a confirmation purpose, right? Conservation, because we can better know, the customer can better know how they use the water and what they use the water for, or if they're supposed to be off and locked, that we get notifications. AMI is one of them. The other one is a water supply plan. By district rules, we're limited by what we can take out of the lake from here on going forward. Don't agree with it myself, but that's the rules, the way they're written right now. We have to identify other sources for raw water. We have multiple big projects in the wind right now that are coming. 1,400 homes down in, at least 1,400 homes down in Glades County, 1,000 to 1,500 on Charlie Harvey, and who knows how many north of town, 4,000, 5,000, 3,500. We got a lot of homes planned for this area, along with others. We've got developer agreements from 2006 for thousands of homes where they've already paid for wastewater capital connection charges. All of that pending. We have to identify a new source of raw water for this community, wherever it may be. This element is an element of the water master plan effort. This is speared directly towards a water supply plan. Where are we going to get the water from? Will the department pay for it? I don't know. I figure we could ask them. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. It's my best guess, $350,000, could be more than that, but it's just a stab at what a water supply plan will cost. I think it's important that we ask for it, because I guarantee you within the next year, we're going to have to be doing this.
Is this something you do, or you contract and have somebody do it?
Well, no, I can't do anything more, so we would contract
Well,
that.
that was kind of my point, the reason I asked that question, because I know that.
This is going to require not only a hydrogeologist, it's going to require probably some drillers to go out and drill test well. I mean, there's going to be a lot of folks involved in this water supply plan. But we have to do it, if for nothing else, to address our needs from an OUA perspective of where we're headed. We're just going to have to do it. The other thing is reclaim water. We currently have on site at the Cemetery Road, we have an unlined pond for percolation. We have approximately 300 acres for spray irrigation, and we have 800 and some acres from an adjoining agricultural use for their fields, whether it's for citrus, whether it's for hay crops, whatever, but 800 acres. The boys' school has transferred ownership. Part of it's going to IRSC, where they're going to do some kind of research park, where they're going to be doing some kind of data center. They've already approached us, hey, do you have reclaimed water that we can use for cooling water for, I guess, their equipment? Water Management District wants to build an STA on part of it. They might want water. We have this, as the name implies, a cemetery right across the street from us. They might want water. There's a small subdivision out there with big 2-acre lots and ponds, Bar Estates. They might want reclaimed water for irrigation. What I'm trying to say is, other than sending it down our deep well, which we do have out there, whether just going to agricultural use, which there are times they don't want water when they're harvesting a crop or picking fruit, they don't want water. We might need to address other uses for reclaimed water. This may be a part of it that we do as a segment of the wastewater master plan, identify other uses for reclaimed water and what we need to do technology-wise to be able to produce that water for them. What am I saying? Well, you might have to add filtration, high levels disinfection, ground storage. There's things that we might have to add to be able to do for public access reclaimed water. This water reuse master plan would address that. And again, I don't know the number. It's a little more involved. I put a larger number, $450,000. So that's 4 projects that I came up with that we may want to pursue through the portal if the board is so inclined. If you're okay with it, we put it in. The only other thing I would add, and it doesn't cost us anything, I mean, we put them in, right? But the thing that may come up is if we do these 4 projects is there any ranking that the board can give me out of these 4 projects, whether, again, I've already mentioned the Southwest Fifth Avenue construction. It's probably the most important, in my opinion. Out of the other 2, all of them are important. I think AMI might be more important than the other 2. The water supply plan is very important. Reclaim water, in my opinion, might be the 4th. So I kind of put them in my order, but I really would like the board to tell us which way they'd like to see it.
My suggestion would be, as mentioned, the Southwest Fifth Avenue would be number 1, to approve all 4, okay? And anything else that is out there. But the ranking, in my opinion, Southwest Fifth Avenue would be number 1, AMI would be number 2, water supply would be number 3, and reclaimed water would be number 4.
And I'm okay with that.
Okay,
Yeah, I have no problem with that order.
So we'll move forward with Connie's help, put together.
Do we need a motion to do that, or yes?
Okay, motion by Mr. Irby,
Go.
second by John, third by Harry. Well,
Wait a minute. Frank?
Mr. Irby first. John, second. Any further discussions? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Okay. So we'll move forward with that. I'll work with Connie. We'll get these in and move forward with it.
Very good. Okay. All right. Moving on to item agenda number 26.
So our commissioner's not here. Mr. Stanley was going to be here. I can tell you they took this took several emails. I guess they took it to the commission. They presented it to the Glades County attorney who's supposed to be working on it. The only thing Mr. Stanley asked was that rather than changing the footprint for the agreement, stopping at the Water Management District Service Road, that it goes back to the service area identified in the interlocal agreement, which goes all the way to, there we go, I never remember what it is, Indian Prairie Canal. All the way down 78, 1 mile either side of State Road 78.
We're at their mercy, so it'll be the franchise agreement, so.
But does that include the new?
Yes, the EDD.
We were trying to avoid that, right, because they had done the.
That's right. So-
Well, what we didn't understand is, we already had the service area by the interlocal agreement, and the developer came in and got this development district, CDD, approved by Glades County, and two of the things that are in that CDD is design, treatment of water and wastewater in our service area. So the board's position was, okay, the franchise agreement expired in May of last year. We don't have an agreement to be there other than what's in the interlocal agreement. Let's propose a new franchise agreement that we used as a template, one that they approved for Lakeport just recently, but we're going to change the service area footprint to stop at the Water Management District Road. We sent that, I think I have an attachment here in your board package that Tom put together, and we sent to the Glades County. Again, Mr. Stanley came back and said he would prefer to see the old service area agreement, service area.
We don't have any control over what they do.
So does this
We do.
improve our relationship with that new project, or, because there's questions about how they were gonna do water and.
So the developer, Lakefront Estates, currently is wanting to put in a water main so that we get water to them, and they are building their own wastewater treatment plant. So they're only gonna be water customers. And it's gonna be a master meter to their property. They're gonna take care, SOCAR have already designed their own water distribution and started the permitting without involving us. And the same on the wastewater. So we're gonna be just selling them water at their property line. That's the way it is. Check with me tomorrow and it may change. But as of today, it's my understanding.
Well, that's good, I think.
But if they're now in the franchise agreement,
In the
do
service.
you have a separate agreement with the developer, how that works? To give them authority to use their own wastewater and,
Couldn't tell you. If the service area stops at the district road, then we don't need it.
I know that. So they're okay with that, or?
I guess
They
we'll,
like they wanted to go back to how it was originally set up.
I guess we'll have to ask the, Glades County and OUA board attorneys to answer that question. Do we need since they have set up their own, community or commercial district, do they need a formal agreement with us to buy water?
I had a conversation with Steve Dobbs yesterday that the Glades County attorney feels like there needs to be a separate agreement with the OUA on some issues. What they are, I don't know. He's supposedly working on an agreement that would be in conjunction with the franchise.
But if the franchise service area stops at the access road, we don't need an agreement.
I don't know what it's gonna be. I wish I had the crystal ball here, I could tell you a lot of things, but
I thought you said the franchise agreement was gonna go to its original, which included that area.
Commissioner Stanley wants the new franchise agreement to have the same footprint as before, all the way to Indian
But it
Prairie.
includes that new development.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that was my point.
yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
So that would lead you to, you now have a wastewater treatment facility in your service area.
Yes, and a water distribution system
And-
in our area.
Yes, that we don't own, or whatever. Okay.
So it's an ongoing. Mr. Stanley said he was gonna be here today. I guess he had another engagement come up. It's an ongoing process, but at least there's some movement. Before, Tom had just sent them the franchise agreement, we hadn't heard anything. So now we at least know there's some kind of action being taken. Don't know what. We'll keep you appraised.
Item agenda number 27, a 2025 hump truck.
Very easy. It's in the budget, to replace this beautiful truck that's pictured here in your, deal. Jamie Mullis has gotten multiple quotes, all based upon various state contracts, and, we would like the approval to move forward with the purchase, although sorry, I don't have anything here on mine, so let me talk about it. It is Southport Truck Group, Southern Sewer, a pump truck for a total of $227,921.64. It is in the budget. This truck has some age to it, and the tank is failing. We need to authorize to go ahead and enter into this purchase with Southport Truck Group. It's a 1-year delivery.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Herbie,
Second.
second by Mr. Moldenhauer. Any further discussion?
1 year.
Tom?
I just had a question. What is there a market or a value for our truck?
So what we will do is when we get the new one, then this board can declare this as surplus, and then we'll put it out on gov deals and auction, and we'll let the market condition dictate what that value is, what somebody wants to buy it for. That's historically what we've done with our older vehicles.
I didn't know whether we got an idea as to value or not. Of course, it doesn't matter right now, but
Well, what we don't want is to get like the the vacuum truck that we had where the tank imploded and it became almost zero value. This one is getting weak, it's old. It's a steel tank. The new one is gonna be aluminum, hopefully will last longer. And, I mean, the truck itself, the chassis is in decent shape. There are interior problems with it, the dashboard kinda seen better. It's an old truck, 2002, I think, if I remember correctly.
Well, 3 years old. 21 years old.
So,
Is it pre-death?
yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
There's some value there.
so, we'll get this ordered. They say it's about a year, so we're not gonna see the new truck until this time next year. The back truck that we just got was over a year. So, for whatever reason, they just are very limited on truck chassis. Once they get the chassis, then they can put this other equipment on. So, motion to approve, second?
All those in favor? Motion carries. Item agenda number 28, groundwater treatment plant generator repair.
So this one's a little more critical. The power plant, it's a diesel generator set. The power plant for the generator set at the groundwater plant is non-operational. We've reached out to one of our vendors that does a lot of our work. They've given us a quote. We've tried to get quotes from we're waiting on 2 other quotes from 2 other vendors that have done work for us. My deal is this generator serves a very important purpose. It provides backup power should we lose FP&L. We currently don't use a groundwater treatment plant to produce water, but it is a repump facility. It's an integral part of our distribution system. We need to get this repaired. So my point is, yes, dollars do matter, but time is more important. So I would like to try to say that what I need from the board is the authorization to have this expenditure to do the repairs. I will spend another day or 2 to try to get these other 2 quotes in, but if they don't come in, I would like to go to the one we do have a quote from and authorize them with a purchase order to get started on ordering the materials to do this engine repair. It's basically, they're gonna tear it apart and redo it. You saw the attachment here, everything that they have listed that they're going to do. So, basically, I just need the authorization to, as an emergency, to get this motor fixed, replaced, whatever it's gonna be, rebuilt, replacement or regen of the motor, I mean, your manufacturer, but I just need to move forward and get that done.
I make a motion.
We have a motion by John. Could I have a second?
Second.
By Harry. Any further discussion?
And just for reference, that is to get this generator fixed.
Correct. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item agenda number 29, SWSA change order number 2.
So, you have in your board package, change order for the Southwest Service Area Project 2. It's a combination of a lot of things that have happened during construction, from an alignment issue with the piping that's run into telephone cables, storm sewers, lots of things that happen on this project. There are people that have come in since the project was bid and said, we've subdivided our lot, we've got this big lot, 10-acre lot is now 3 homes, and I'm gonna be building 3 houses, so let's add some lots of things have happened since conception of this plan. That's the rubber's meeting the road. We gotta get the contractor to move the piping or to add pits, whatever the case may be. It's a lot of money, $199,000 approximately for change order number 2. There is contingency money in the project, so it's not going to change the overall contracted price, but it is going to use up some of the contingency money. Jeff Sumner is here with Sumner Engineering. If there are any specific questions, detailed, either I can answer them or Jeff will answer them, but this is a step that we need to get board approval of the change order, which we can then package up and get to USDA, who has ultimate final review of this change order, proposed change order. Engineer, OUA contractor will sign it. We'll send it off to USDA.
Do you think there's any more of these coming?
Yes.
Almost assuredly. No, there are several that are in, I don't want to say in the works,
They're pending.
there are several that we're still arguing with the contractor about. None of these are arguable things. These are, I could say a lot of it was additions to the project to bring on more customers that we didn't know about. There was an issue with the bid documents. A lot of these are unit cost items in the bid. So we said, this is pits, for instance. We had 197 pits in the bid form. There were 200 pits in the plan. So there were some late design changes that just didn't make it into the bid. All it did was increase the quantity there. It didn't change the unit cost any, but those things happen. There are several out there, including one that I've gotten an email on since I've been sitting here this morning, the contractors being the contractor, and what should be simple adjustments. They're trying to make their margin on, and we're arguing over those. So some version of that is still going to have to come back to you. We might be done with putting pipe in the ground today. We still got a lot of pits to put in the ground, and we still have the 2 vac stations to build. But the opportunities for these types of changes should be about past us. But like I explained, when the first change order came up, we're going in and doing work in an already built environment. You just run into things that are in the way. It's like a rebuild of like when they rebuilt the courthouse.
But you've had
Ran into a whole
weather
lot of stuff.
too.
We have had very cooperative weather, and that has been, I wish you hadn't even mentioned it.
Thank you, Tom.
Well, I was thinking about that. We need the rain, but
So the short answer is, yes, it would not be, I would expect other changes to happen. Whether or not it's going to be, say, at the back stations, the height of the piping leaving or the beam elevation, there may be some changes coming. But we have not gone into it projecting that to happen. That's why we put the contingency in there. There's going to be some changes, either additions or deletions. No, I don't like this change order. Jeff and I've had a discussion over a couple items, but we're under contract. We have to abide by the contract, so it is what it is.
I don't like any change.
Well, some of the changes are good. We've picked up new customers. That's going to require new piping and new pits. Gathering churches, for instance, and the McWhorter. Okay, we didn't contemplate them in the beginning. They want it now. Great, let's get them hooked up. 2 new customers, paying customers. So, yes, I'm in favor of it. It's $199,000, whatever, dollars the total is.
It ended up right at
199,390.97. Change order number 2. Again, engineer, owner, contractor signs it. We send it up to USDA for final approval.
Okay.
All right. Get a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve by Mr. Irby. Second. Second by John. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
So we'll get the chairman to execute, and we'll send this out, get the contractor to sign, and then we'll get it out to USDA.
Item number 30, purchase order for an EMP lighting defense.
So this is something that was in the budget. It's lightning protection for the surface water treatment plant and the maintenance barn, basically 2 aerial dissipators to go up. It's a 2-part deal. One is for the cost of the equipment, $27,477, and then from a installer contractor, $3,470. Again, in the budget item, I will tell you that, electrical damage will always occur. But we have to do what we can do to try to protect that. We can protect from lightning. Next thing you know, you're gonna get a surge in on FP&L. Okay, it just happens. But we need to do our part now to try to protect some of the equipment. This was an option that we looked at. Seems to be very, very appropriate for big ball fields, open areas, truck stops, the way stations you see on the interstates. All that has the same type of coverage. And we would like to be able to do that for the surface water treatment plant and maintenance barn to the tune of $27,477 and a secondary PO for $3,470.
Tom, we need two separate, or just one motion can cover both.
Purchase and installation, or
Yeah, you need approval.
Need two.
Approval.
Two at once.
Individually or collectively?
Why you could combine them in a month.
Okay,
So it'd be the purchase and installation would be the motion.
yes. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Second? Mr. Irby, any further discussion?
Who is one?
Harry?
Harry, good.
Mr. Irby, second. All those in favor? Aye, motion carries. Items from the public at this time. From our attorney?
Yes. I'm giving serious thought to letting you select a new attorney come the next fiscal year. I mean, age and health and wear and tear. And you can do an RFP in August if you want for the selection to begin October 1st with the new fiscal year. But I intend to continue to serve out this year for you unless you boot me out in advance. I'll give you my best. But
Always have.
wear and tear is showing.
It happens if you live long enough.
I've done my best, so.
So if I understand, we could do the RFP in July, the board could make a selection in the August meeting, and then you could co-do it for 1 month or whatever
Whatever
for
the-
that transition. So the July would be an RFP.
Is that July 2025? Tom, do you have any recommendations of anybody?
I do not, although I should not be that difficult to replace.
Oh,
That's the way it
please.
Everybody.
Oh, everybody's replaceable. But the laws governing special agencies are not that great. I mean, it's almost like corporate law. You shouldn't have any difficulty. You should not have any difficulty.
Would May consider doing it?
I'll talk to
I
you.
can assure you.
You can tell her I said
He
that.
plays a big role in this, so I don't like turning OUA loose. I take special pride in representing OUA. And I'm giving you my best, that's all I can say, I've tried. But I feel delighted that you've got Frank on the board here. I'm
Very good answer.
tremendously gratified by that.
He ignored
It's a
his wife
one-year
telling him
appointment.
not to do it, so.
I mean, Frank, you need a Frank on the board. I've been talking to him about it. He's gotten tired of talking to me about that, so I guess he's relented. But I am thrilled that he is on this
I just
board.
enjoyed watching his facial expression.
So anyhow, other than that, and the Glades County situation, I can't think of anything else to tell you guys.
Mr. John?
You can just see what's on the included in the meeting. I can tell you, what's certainly different. We did a presentation to the BOCC, did a presentation to City Council. We just have a pile of DOT projects going on. We've got, the Water Management District telling us that they're gonna move forward with their construction north of town, which requires water and wastewater. Just a lot going on. We're very, very busy. It's exciting time. John and I are gonna be working on stuff for the surface water treatment plant. He's helping out with the chiller. I mean, we got things that are in the works, some of them moving quite slowly, but we'll just get a lot done. There's a lot going on. Interviewing for lots of positions within the OUA, one of them being assistant director. So we'll see how that turns out. I mean, we got a lot going on.
Getting many applicants, John?
We've gotten, I think we've interviewed 4 or 5. We got one again today. They're all over the place. Some are local. We did a Zoom meeting with a guy in Arizona. So there is some interest. There are some that we could say no to. They just didn't have enough qualifications. So we'll see. We'll see. I think, we're striving to get somebody that has operational knowledge of utilities, water, wastewater, billing, administrating, but also more at an executive level, that can handle it from a administrative side. And then you throw in the idea that do they know anything about regulations, whether it's EPA, FDEP, Waterman. It's tough to find somebody. I can tell you that their salary expectations are high. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be, but we need somebody. We need to have somebody that's going to take some work off of me. The long-term expectations. John's getting older. Hello, Tom. In that transition, it would be nice to have that person. So whatever it's going to take, qualifications, finances, we're just going to have to do it. And hopefully we'll find that person that can get started. We do the transition, both Jamies, the Kevins, the Chris's, the Johns, get that person up and running and acclimated to OUA. But there's been some pretty good candidates. I have Larston to thank, Jamie Mullis, and Tammy. We all sit in on the interviews. So they all get input into who that person's going to be, picking out the high points and the low points of the interviews. So it's good. So hopefully by next month, we'll have a person selected and we get started.
Could I amplify a little bit on what he just spoke on?
Sure.
Thinking about the developments, the anticipated new homes and all. I represent the school board as well. This is an overflow on our schools. We're running at capacity on our schools right now. So we're having to make some I'm involved in decisions that are ongoing behind the scenes right now on future planning on our school system. People don't think about the overall impact. And think about the roads. Look at 441 right now. I mean, it's going to be.
Well, we'll get a traffic signal.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be
Next
tremendous.
couple.
Not only, you got OUA, you got the school system, you have
Medical.
FP&L, you have medical. There's a 30,000 square foot medical facility, if you don't know, being proposed in Glades County. I spoke to them about that. That's a done deal. It's going to affect the quantity of restaurants that we're going to require to take care of the people that are moving in. The facilities that we're going to need here in town, is definitely going to affect the hospital with expansion, nursing homes with expansion. I mean, it's going to be, endless. Thank God, we have an excellent board now, Mr. Irby on board, John and Ms. Trent, and all the others over here. I look at Okeechobee right now, that piece of coal is turning into a diamond. And we have to be smart about this. We have to, all entities, and I'm going to be starting back to what I used to do, call on the city and the county, and then have a meeting together at least once a month. Everybody is on the same page. And we're working together as one single entity. And to me, that is the most important thing, is that we work together. We can make good change. We could have a fantastic community here that, by getting the governor's office involved, making Okeechobee a community that everybody else is going to look towards. Gee, what did they do down here? I'm getting calls from people. How did you get this grant? How did you get that grant? All right? I'm not telling them how we did it, but all it takes is just, you make a phone call, all right? You send a card to somebody. You do what you have to do, and that's where I feel honored. I mean, I hate to lose this gentleman down at the very end over here. I mean, it's going to be hard to fill your shoes. It's going to be hard to fill your shoes. I mean, spend a day with John or so to see what John does, all right? It's tremendous. It's tremendous, and I'll just leave it at that with respect that we have an opportunity here. I hope we seize it. I hope we go out and we bring all the entities together. If those people that are coming into Glades County are willing to support us and build a school or put money towards a school here in Okeechobee, let's take it. Let's fold them in. Let's treat them with respect. Let's get the Bass Tournament or the Bass Pro Shop off the ground over here. You've got to attract people, and with all that, that's all I have to say.
So, Executive Director, we got a lot going on.
All right.
Wait, is there anything from the board?
Anything else from any board members at this time?
Just one question. Could I get the Evergreen's final report separate in an email so I can just save it?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having to pull
We'll get that to you.
minutes? Yeah.
If there's nothing else, at 11:13, meeting adjourned.